really bad, but also good. I don't know how to feel about this game. Can you tell? Welcome into the DNVR Avalanche post-game show, live from the Xfinity studio and presented by Bet365. We've got J-Mike and Rudo coming to you as the Avs lose in the shootout 2-1 to the Dallas Stars. And it's middle of March. So at the end of the day, the only thing that matters is the result of the game, right? Now, it could be worse. The Avs could have lost in regulation. They only dropped 1 point to Dallas. I also thought the Avs played very well for the majority of the game, but we're sitting here talking about a loss, J-Mike.
Yeah, it's one of those situations where you kind of have to compartmentalize the cold hard truth is close, but no cigar isn't good enough at this stage of the season. The race is on, obviously, in the Central, but I thought the Avs played really well 5-on-5. I thought they deserved a win tonight, and I don't come away from this one panicked, but obviously a bummer to give up another point in the standings.
Yeah. It's tough to watch in the sense of the Avs probably deserved better in a lot of ways, but at a certain point you have to earn better, right? You have to find a way to get that next goal. You have to find a way to make that next play. You can't expect to win hockey games 1-0. That's just the reality. Even if, look, Dallas's only goal they scored tonight took a great bounce off of a post right to a guy's tape. That's what it took for Dallas to score in this game. The Avs doubled them up on shots on goal. Dallas failed to execute on their special teams. The Avs did a lot of things right today. They just didn't do the thing that wins you the game.
I mean, to be fair, Wedgwood got beat on that first shot too, so you could make the argument could have, should have, but it wasn't. So
yeah, I mean, you would take it back however you can get it, and we'll talk about Bardakov's role in that too, which was bad. But you gave up 1 goal today and you didn't win. That's a failure of your offense, not your defense.
And it's kind of a trend now, right? These last couple of games, the offensive production just has not been good enough. You're in a really tight race. This isn't the time for guys to not be able to find the back of the net.
Yeah, that's 4 straight games where you scored 2 or less. In 3 of them, you only scored once. One of them was a Winnipeg game where it was a meaningless garbage time goal with 20 seconds left. It was like a minute left. Your offense has to do better. It has to put pucks in the back of the net. The last time you scored 3 goals, you lost to Edmonton. Caveats there. But you can't do that. You have to perform better on offense, even if you are doing the process in a way where the Avs deserve more goals this game, which is absolutely true. They didn't. Deserved goals don't win you games. Actual goals win you games. And am I upset with the way the Avs played? No, not really. I think you would take them playing this way and they would win most of the time when they play this way, but they didn't win tonight. And I said in the pregame, there's no tomorrow, there's no yesterday. You got to win this one, and they didn't. So frustrating for me. We can hit the 60-second rundown quickly, but I don't think it will be very long. First period was very weird and low event, but the Avs definitely got the better of it and break through late on the power play thanks to Cale Makar. At least they've solved that problem. Makar is beating Ottinger this year. That would be the Avs' only goal of the game. You get into the second period, the Avs would continue to look like the better team at 5-on-5, but one opportunity down the ice, a post gets hit, puck squirts out behind Wedgwood directly to Jason Robertson, who makes it count. It's 1-1, and that would be the last goal of the game, despite multiple chances both ways, but more so towards the Avs in the second and third period. They're just not able to solve Ottinger or find a way to hit the back of the net. It's 1-1, you go to overtime. Overtime is overtime. The modern 3-on-3 NHL overtime isn't nearly as fun as it used to be. And then the shootout happens, and Dallas scores one, the Avs score none in 3 chances. That's it.
That might be what I'm most annoyed with.
Yeah.
The shootout was terrible. I mean, Nietzsche's, McKinnon, I don't really know what either of those attempts were, but I guess the silver lining there is you don't have to deal with that in the playoffs, right?
Yeah. You don't do 3-on-3 nor shootout in the playoffs, so I don't know. I don't worry too much about those things, whether the Avs won or lost. I wouldn't have worried too much about it. Obviously, the point is important that they dropped, but the execution of the shootout is mostly whatever to me. I never overthink that. It seemed like the Avs shooters were in their head on having gone against Ottinger in the shootout twice already this season. Val went away from his move that had worked, which, maybe Ottinger's prepared for it. Maybe he makes a different good move and it looks great, but instead he does nothing. Ottinger doesn't bite. Natchez just misses. Like, it's a pretty tough look when you walk in, make no move, just try to pick a corner and miss. And we'll talk about Natchez more tonight. Don't worry about that. And then McKinnon just doesn't finish his either. It is what it is. The Avs are bad at shootouts again. The 2 games of being good at it was fun, but they're back to bad at it.
Yeah, this is one of those losses that eats at you.
Yeah.
Because you just know that the process was more or less correct for the vast majority of this game. If you play this exact game out 10 times, you probably win 7 of them at least.
Yeah. If the Avs end up losing the first seed, it's this game that you look at. There are obviously other losses and everything, but you're looking at this game where it really feels like you gave 2 points away instead of the other way around.
Well, and it stings more based on your struggles of late, right? It just, everything compounds when you have a couple of games that felt like they woulda, coulda, shoulda probably have been victories, and it put a lot of pressure on this one. I mean, that's what we had talked about for a long time. It's like those losses individually aren't the end of the world, but it heightens the intensity that much more for these types of matchups. And I mean, obviously the Avs still control their own destiny. You look at the schedules and compare them moving forward. I like the Avs' chances still of pulling this out, but the pressure's all on you now. Yep.
You have to go earn it still. Luckily, especially with it getting to overtime in a shootout, the Avs do take away 1 point. They still have a 2-point lead in a game in hand on Dallas. So the Avs still completely control their own destiny. You can still go out and win the first seed no matter what Dallas does.
And you got another game against them.
Yeah, and that one now becomes as important or more important than this one. So you have to go do it. They do still have the ability to do that regardless of Dallas, though. Just to talk about a little bit of the numbers and why I feel good about the way the Avs played despite the result. When you look at 5-on-5, the Avs outshot this team 27-12. They outshot attempted them 63-32. They outscoring chanced them 29-19, and they out high dangered them 12-10. The actual numbers of expected goals, the Avs generated 2.92, essentially 3, and Dallas generated 1.67. So this was not a game where the Avs, they had a ton of puck possession, but they didn't really generate anything at 5-on-5. No, they generated almost 3 expected goals for at 5-on-5 in this game. They just didn't actually score any. And that's the reality of the Avs of late, is that they just have not been finishing well enough. You have to do that part. You can do every other aspect of hockey perfectly, but if you can't score goals, it's really hard to win.
Is that like fluky? Do you feel like do you see anything visually, like guys being too hesitant? Like, what do you think plays into that?
I think there is a little bit of, I don't know if hesitance is the right word, but it's just like maybe a quarter second slow for the Avs to pull the trigger at times. But also they generated good chances. Some of those shots on goal were good. Ottinger made some really good saves, and the Avs missed on some good chances. There were posts hit. There was plenty of opportunity there. And really, what I truly believe is that goal scoring ebbs and flows for every team across the course of the season. Some of that happens. This entire stretch as a whole, I do think it's just ebbing at a wrong time for the Avs right now. But in a game this big, you can't use that excuse, right? You have to find a way to work through it, find a way to get a dirty one, find a way to get that next goal and win this hockey game. And the Avs just didn't.
somebody's got to step up.
Yep.
Like, sure, you'd love to get more from your stars in this one. Great to see Cale get a power play goal. But McKinnon, Nichushkin, whoever it is, like, you need them to step up. And even, you can point to some of the depth guys. Like, I get that both these teams are missing some firepower at the moment. Like,
they desperately need some depth.
You need the reinforcements, but who's like a Brinley, somebody, man, make a grimy play. And it just feels like for 2 weeks now, it just hasn't been happening.
Yeah, your depth forwards are essentially non-existent on the goal scoring scale, right? Obviously, it's the Makar and the power play that scored tonight. Their last game in Pittsburgh, it was McKinnon and Brent Burns. So your defense is getting involved, but where are your depth forwards? Game before that, the only goal is a meaningless one from Natchez at the end of the game. The game before that is a 5-1 win against Seattle. So, fair enough. But on this stretch, the Avs just haven't gotten any help from their depth. I guess Kivy scored a goal in the 5-1 game against Seattle, but it was meaningless in the third period. Yes. Do you need more from your stars too? You need your stars to score goals at 5-on-5. Fact. But at a certain point, you have 12 NHL forwards. They have to contribute better.
About half of them aren't doing a whole lot, at least statistically speaking at the moment.
Yep. You don't need a ton. I'm not asking for a ton, but at a certain point, you have depth forwards that need to score. Yes, I know they're down guys. I know they're down to Ross Colton, and there are multiple guys moving up the lineup higher than they should be, like a Nick Waugh or something like that. But you need Jack Drury to step up and score some goals for you. You need a depth guy, whether it's Bardakov or I don't really expect anything out of Ivan in this game, but you need more. And maybe more importantly, if they're not scoring goals, you can't get losing plays out of your depth. And you got multiple of those from Zakhar Bardakov tonight.
They miss these guys, man. Like, you need Lehkonen back in the lineup. Landy, obviously, and the intangibles he brings. It's weird how heavy his presence seems to be with this team, where it's like they forget who they are when he's not with them. It almost feels like, and that's not something that's you can quantify. It's obviously an over exaggeration, but like, it just feels like the fire isn't quite there right now.
Yeah. It's just tough because if one or two more pucks goes in, we're sitting here saying the Avs played great, and this is a big win, and you really liked what you saw out of the team as a whole, because I did. The entire team worked their butts off tonight. Effort, winning the puck battles, doing the right things, playing the right way, except for maybe that too many men penalty. They really did a very good job, and they just did not get rewarded for it tonight. And that's tough.
That's hockey, though.
Games like this are the reason it's a 7-game series. If you play 7 games like this, the Avs are going to win the series.
Games like this are also why we don't settle things in overtime with 3-on-3 and gimmick hockey.
And the thing is, I have no faith in the Avs to play 7 games like this against Dallas. I expect them to look more like the first 2 games where the Avs are trailing for a good portion of the game and they have to work their butt off to make it competitive. Tonight, that wasn't the case. Tonight, the Avs did almost everything right, and it just still wasn't enough.
If you're the Avs, what do you expect? Like, obviously we'll hear from Bailey in terms of what, the guys are saying in the locker room. But what do you think the vibe in that locker room is right now?
I mean, I don't think he'll be happy, but I don't think they're not having any team meetings after this one. I'll put it to you that way. They really should feel good about the way they played the majority of this hockey game.
Well, I just mean it from the sense of, like, you could make an argument that the way that the Avs had to play in the first 2 games to fight back into it, that's less sustainable in some sense. Kind of encouraging that you're able to play this brand of hockey. Obviously not the outcome that you wanted, but I mean, it felt like you dictated a lot of the possession. Like you didn't give up a ton of high danger chances. Like, to me, like that's something you try and build off of.
The regulation 60 minutes, Jared Bednar would take every game. He would take every game the Avs playing like this for the regulation 60 minutes, except for the too many men penalty, which the Avs didn't even get burned.
Can you count, guys?
Yeah, that was rough, man. There were
14 dudes on the ice.
Avs that jumped onto that.
The entire team was on the ice.
Just brutal on that one for sure. But it really was well put together hockey. Every single play up to shooting the actual puck. And then they just couldn't find it unless you're Cale Makar on the power play. It's not, look, I look at statistics. You look at this season, you knew the early part of the season, the Avs were probably playing above their head with their shooting percentages and how much was going in for them. These last 4, 5, 6 games, if you want to include all of March, fine, whatever. There's a couple of games they scored in, but sure. They're playing under the mark of what their shooting percentage is going to be on average. And
I mean, it's highly possible you rip off a 4-game heater here and those numbers go right back the other way and everybody relaxes.
I have very little concern about the Avs not being able to finish long term. I do have concern about the Avs not finding a way to get it done in a big game.
I feel like you need more from the Nelsons and Nichushkins of the world.
Yep.
And that's something we can talk about after the break, but
yeah, you need, throw them in with your depth. Your bottom 9 forwards produced 0 points tonight. Not even an assist. You got no production out of them. And frankly, your top line at 5-on-5 also produced 0 points, but they did at least get it done on the power play for you. It's tough. It's tough to look at this game and you're just going to feel how you feel about it, right? No matter what I say on this podcast, I'm going to feel the way I feel, which is that the Avs played really well and didn't get rewarded for it, which I think is justified. And someone else is going to feel the Avs lost. That's the end of the conversation. Not good enough. And I think that's also justified.
Yeah, horseshoes and hand grenades and whatnot.
Yep. I think either way, how you look at this game is valid. And there are a couple of things and a couple of guys that I specifically have concerns about, but the team as a whole, I just am not that concerned about this game. Should we shout out our sponsors, Tiff? Take our first break of the show here, as we are brought to you by the fantastic folks over at STK Steakhouse. Go get yourself a steak. Even after a late game like this, they're open. You can go down to Denver and find a steak and maybe eat away your sorrows if it's an Avs loss. Hopefully they start winning again soon. Give you some winner steaks too. I would like that. They have happy hours, $3, $6, and $9 levels on Sunday through Thursday, 2:30 to 6:30 p.m. and 9 p.m. to close. And then on Friday to Saturday, 2:30 to 5:30 p.m. You can also go out for steak night, which is a 3-course meal plus a glass of wine for $69 per person at STK. They have seasonal menus with rotating items, so there's always something new to try when you go down there. And they're even open on holidays, which it's not St. Patty's Day anymore, but close enough. I mean, you can,
in spirit.
You can drink a green beer with your steak. It counts. It's
still March.
Exactly. You're good. It's dinner with a vibe. Denver has a DJ every single night, and they even do private dining spaces for corporate events or social celebrations. So make a reservation or learn more at stksteakhouse.com today.
We also want to shout out our fine friends with the Colorado Soccer Association. Colorado Soccer Association is the official hub for 65-plus soccer clubs across the state, offering programs for youth players, adult players, coaches, referees, and families who want to get involved in the game. Kids can kick off their soccer journey as early as the age of 3. I don't know if you've ever watched 3-year-olds play soccer, but it is hilarious. Whether you're playing for fun, competing at the highest level, or exploring a career in soccer, there's something for everyone. Plus, be part of history with the 2026 World Cup coming to the U.S. and a new NWSL, if we can read, team, the Denver Summit FC. What's up? Joining Colorado. There's never been a more exciting time to play, cheer, and be part of the soccer buzz. Want to get involved? Visit coloradosoccer.org. Find a club near you and be part of the future of the game. NWSL, I can say it.
Denver Summit got a red card in their first game ever. So
I love it.
They might need some lessons. Yeah. They play hard, though. That's for sure. You can't deny that if you get a red card in your first game.
There's far less flopping around in women's
very
soccer.
True.
The ladies play hard, and I respect it.
Mega divers. Second period of the DNVR Avalanche podcast. I think the Avs played really hard, too. I know we kind of mentioned it in the first period. Dallas brought a physical edge to this game, but the Avs answered that. They went in and won corner battles. They worked hard on the forecheck pressure. Makar had that big hit on Heiskanen that really wasn't that big, but there was at least
cool.
There was some answer to the physicality too. I think Dallas was the more physical team, but what did that really earn Dallas in this game? I don't think very much. The Avs strength, if you don't want to call it physicality, their board battles, their corner work, I think was better than Dallas in this game.
I agree. Like, I mean, there's a lot to feel good about, I think, in terms of the dirty work and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It just obviously didn't amount to enough offensive production, but like whether you look at some of the stuff they did on the forecheck, some of the stuff that they did in the neutral zone, the PK obviously late, the penalty really frustrating, but like you did a lot of things well. And I thought that, again, outside of the too many men, I was really happy with how disciplined the Avs were in this game.
Yeah. You had one other bad penalty from Bardakov. It's in the offensive
he had a
zone.
rough game.
He was bad. But yeah, 2 penalties a night. No one's complaining about that. That's good work.
Especially against that unit. Like, you gave yourself a chance.
Right.
Like, if we're sitting here talking about they had 7 sloppy penalties and it was 3 power play goals,
Right.
like you shot yourself in the foot. You didn't do that. You just lost a really good game.
You won the special teams battle. You killed both your penalties. Both your PKs were honestly great. And then your power play goes 1 for 2, which you'd have loved it to go 2 for 2 and win you the game, but 1 for 2 is great. You would take that every single game if you're the Avs on your power play.
If you go 50% on the power play every game from here on out, you're winning the cup.
Yep. Honestly, it makes your life so much easier in that regard. There are 2 guys that I want to get into. And look, caveat, you win as a team, you lose as a team. None of this is ever personal. We're talking about the performance of their jobs. Number 1, just mentioned him, Zakhar Bardakov. If there was any hope for Bardakov playing his way into a lineup spot come playoff time, it died in this hockey game. Take a bad penalty in the offensive zone. Okay, we already knew he had a penchant for that. We already knew that's something you might have to live with a little bit in his game. Whose guy is it coming back? It was Ivan's guy coming back. Fair enough. But 4th line out there for the only goal that gets scored against you.
That's tough.
You can't
be a liability in those scenarios.
Right. You are a 4th line that what did he play? It had to be like 6-7 minutes tonight. I'll actually look it up. Ivan played 343, and that is more than Zakhar Bardakov played. Bardakov played 323. You cannot be the 4th line guy battling for his spot in the roster and be the dudes that give up the goal. I know it's not his fault directly, but make a better decision and be the guy back. Supposedly at one point, Bardakov was supposed to be a center for this team. Make the better decision to get a puck in deep so you're not giving up something the other way. You have to find a way to make the smart play in those situations, and you just haven't gotten enough from Bardakov, on top of the fact that he's not giving you any production at all. This dude has been sitting on 9 points for 2 months. His last point was January 23rd. There's just not enough there.
It's a tough sell, man. Like, you're not doing the one thing you should, in theory, be doing.
Yep.
And you're on the ice for less than 4 minutes and you give up a penalty and you give up a goal. Like, it's tough. And like, again, like, I don't want to use injuries as an excuse, but it speaks to how much they're missing Lehkonen and Landeskog and those types of guys right now. I mean, you can't get some of these other dudes off the ice fast enough.
And Dallas is missing guys too, and their depth didn't screw it up. Avs did. And look, it's easy for me to say from this chair, who's never stepped into a real competitive hockey game ever in my life. But you have to understand the situation. Here's Zakhar Bardakov. You're playing your 50th game of the season or whatever. You've been essentially an NHL regular for this team. You can't leave Ivan as the last guy back. That dude's playing his 2nd game of the year in the NHL.
Dude's been in Denver for like 8 hours.
You cannot expect him to be the guy bailing you out. It needs to be the other way around.
Disappointing. Just really disappointing from a guy who seemingly had some promise at the beginning.
Yep. And like, it's tough because 4 games ago, he was playing some of his best hockey of the season, I thought. He didn't get rewarded with points, but he was physical, engaged offensively, doing good things. And then you come to the biggest game of the season and he actively hurts you.
I'll be pretty interested to see kind of how this plays out in the next game, because Bedsy can be kind of a tough love kind of guy when it comes to these types of performances.
Until the Avs get forwards back, you're just going to have him in your lineup.
Come on, LOC.
But we'll see if he gets 5 minutes next game. And then the other problem, and this is a much bigger problem if you're looking at the Avs playoff roster, because Bardakov's not going to be on it if the Avs are healthy. you have gotten the absolute best version of Marty Necas post-Olympic break. And tonight was the ginormous fear with him. Big game, big night. You need your stars to show up, and Marty Necas ghosted this hockey game.
It was a no-show, man.
At 5-on-5, no shots on goal, only 2 shot attempts. Multiple plays in the offensive zone, dying on his stick because he's trying to make an impossible pass that doesn't make any sense. Nathan MacKinnon did a little bit of that too. Nathan MacKinnon ended up with, at 5-on-5, 4 shots on goal and 7 attempts. That's a guy who's at least playing offense the right way, even if he does get stubborn at times. Marty Necas was just not effective.
He was misplaying the puck. The passing wasn't on point.
Yep.
Weirdly, just nonchalant in this game.
Yeah, it was not good enough from Necas at any stretch, from the first minute of the game when he's turning pucks over to the shootout where he makes a non-competitive move and misses the net.
And it's frustrating too, because he's a guy who can just completely offset a rough period or two with 5 really good minutes, and he just never turned it on.
I was sitting here waiting for it. The whole third period, I was begging Marty Necas to do the thing where he hasn't played well, and then he just pulls the snipe out of nowhere and the Avs win the game, and it just never came. He just never got it to where it needed to be tonight. And obviously, you can sit here and say the Avs needed a goal from anyone. You wouldn't have complained no matter who it came from. But MacKinnon at least picked up an assist on the power play goal. Necas didn't. It's a 0-point night for him. When you're desperate, when this team is struggling to score goals lately, Marty Necas is a 30-goal scorer, man.
Yeah.
One of those dudes has to step up.
I'm trying to remember, how was he in the first 2 games against Dallas this year?
It was hit or miss, but he did some really good stuff. In the first one, he scored the goal to make it 3-4 in the third period. The Avs eventually get the fourth one.
There's some things stylistically that just with Dallas's physicality that probably doesn't lead to like his best matchup ever. But this is the team you're going to go up against. So.
Right. The fear isn't even Dallas specifically. This is the biggest game of the season, and he has a reputation for disappearing in the playoffs, for disappearing in the big games. And he played fantastic in the Olympics. He ended up having the assist on what probably should have been the winning goal for Czechia, and then they gave it away.
He had 2 grade A chances to win that thing too, even after they tied it.
And sure, he didn't score on those chances, but he didn't even create those chances tonight. You cannot have that version of Marty Necas come big game time. He needs to be not necessarily the guy, but one of the guys. He needs to be. The Avs are built where he needs to be.
Especially on a night like tonight when you are shorthanded. Yep. Like you've got to take it up a level in a matchup like this, and just a bummer to not see him rise to the occasion. It's one thing if you rip 6 shots on net and you don't score. It is what it is, but like give yourself a chance to make some plays.
Yep. Instead, you're casually skating to the wall and throwing it into dude's skates. You're not creating for yourself. You're not creating for your teammates. No shots on goal at 5-on-5 from a top line forward is not good enough on any night. I don't care what the game state looks like. I don't care what the defense you're playing against. You need to get shots on goal. Full stop. It just has to be better from Necas. I can't look at it and say, oh, he needs to do exactly this. He needs to do everything better on a night like tonight.
It's tough too, because it's like, what do you even attribute that to? Is it personality? Like,
I don't know. I want to attribute it to he had a bad game at a really bad time, and he won't do it again in the playoffs. That's what the positive version of my brain wants to attribute it to, is that it was just unfortunate night for Marty to not show up. The reality of the situation, I think, is Marty needs to find a way to create for himself more. I think he really wants to play a team game, and they really want to put together these plays as a top line unit. And MacKinnon falls in and out of this problem too at times, but Marty almost always is creating plays for others or playing off of plays for others. Not because he's not capable of creating for himself. He absolutely is, but his play style, the way he thinks the game, it's hard for him to say, fine, I'm just going to do it myself.
And it's frustrating too, because it's not like you're a year in. Like, you know what this is going to be. At some point, you got to find how to be your most dangerous self. And I know it's not easy to just gel within the flow of Nathan McKinnon's universe, but
the thing is, he had it at times this year. Earlier in the year,
they
when
were clicking,
couldn't lose a game, Marty Necas was shooting more than he ever had in his career. And that can't go away in the big moments. You have to, I'm not saying you have to shoot it every time, but you can't shoot it none of the time.
Yeah, you're too good for that.
Yep. That's a great way to put it. He's too good for that. Those are the two guys that I think really frustrated me. And look, if Marty gets it together and plays great in the playoffs, we never think about him this way again. But he has to go out and do that.
I mean, we're in prove it mode now.
Yep. You wanted to believe.
We know you're skilled. We know how good you can be, but can you do it when the lights get bright?
And if the answer is yes, awesome. But it's not yes until it's a yes. So hopefully Marty goes out and does it, but he didn't build anyone's confidence in him doing that. And what was the biggest game of the season so far? And again, like, these are things I'm pointing out in a game where the Avs played really well. You had minimal defensive breakdowns in this game. Certainly none of the horrific breakdowns we've seen over the last handful of games. The Avs got that on lock. They put it together great. Dallas ended up with 18 shots on goal total in this game. You take away overtime, it's 16. Every night of the week, if you hold a team under 20 shots in regulation, your defense was great.
Yeah.
Unless it's, you give up 4 on 9 or something and it's a weird game, but that's not what happened here.
I mean, especially against this team.
Right. Dallas is fully capable of playing a higher octane game than that. And this was not, Dallas got a lead and sat back. In regulation, the Avs never trailed. In fact, they led for most of the game and were, half the game. Not even half, actually. It was like 15 minutes. Either way, trailing, never. Tied or led the entire game, and they held Dallas to that shot total. That's just denying them. Dallas never really got significant momentum outside of a shift here or there.
There was no extended real big push where you just felt like you were drowning for 2 minutes.
Yeah, you did a really good job on the whole. Again, even with the mistakes made on the one goal that the Avs gave up, it took a player hitting a post and the perfect bounce to get a puck. And Wedgwood almost makes the backside save. He gets his stick on it. It's just not good enough to keep it out. And that's what it took for Dallas to score a single hockey goal in this game. You really played really well in this game, even if you didn't win. And that's sports, man. The sports are hypocritical in that way, where you can play really well and lose, and you can feel really good about some things and horrible about the other things in this same game. If this game played out against anyone but Dallas, I think the vast majority of us would be shrugging this one off. But because it's Dallas, it mattered more. And the L is what you took.
We've talked about it for a week and a half now. This one was just going to carry a lot more weight. And so if you're able to pull out the dub, man, you're riding high. And the funny thing is, you could have very well won this game. Then if you drop a couple on the road, you're sitting there still sweating again.
Yeah. While I understand that this was a huge game, and regardless of how you feel about it, the biggest game of the season, the result you got in it not just being a direct Avs loss or a direct Avs win means that you play this team again in 15 days?
Yeah, roughly.
That one's going to be the biggest game of the season too. You had an opportunity, you win tonight, you win a couple more, maybe you run away with this division and that game doesn't matter. Now, unless one of these teams just collapses in the next 2 weeks, that game is very likely going to be the division decider, or at very least deciding who has the division in hand running up to the last week of the season.
I feel like we're in SEC territory. It just means more in the Central.
It's tough, man. The top 3 of the top 4 teams are in the Central Division. And frankly, the top 2 have paced out Minnesota. Minnesota has kind of lost the gap. It's really just the Avs and Dallas at playing for the top of the Central, which is also the President's Trophy.
the context matters in these conversations. Yes, the Avs are 1-4 over their last 5.
Which is bad.
Yes, the slack is gone that you once had.
Which is also bad.
You still also control your own destiny.
Right now, if the season ended tomorrow, the Avs would get the first seed.
It's just hilarious when you compare the divisions. Like, it is what it is. We knew what this division was coming in, so it's not like anybody's shocked by this situation we're in. Oh my God, I can't believe how good these teams are. Everybody knew exactly what this would be. But I do think it is important to remember that. Like, you're in a situation where whoever wins this division is going to probably put up a historic type season.
Yeah, and the winner of this division is the favorite in the playoffs. Full stop.
Without a doubt.
That's it. That's the
And these
conversation.
are probably going to be the top 2 betting favorites regardless of how it plays out.
The only reason they wouldn't be is because they have to play each other long before the cup.
That's a good point. Shout out Gary Bettman.
Yeah. Great work, NHL. The other thing that feels, I don't know if it feels bad, because I generally feel this way regardless of the result of the regular season. But you look at the regular season record of this series, and everyone's going to see, oh, Dallas is 2-0-1 in this series, except for all 3 games they've played have gone to a shootout. Like all 3 games have ended in a way that doesn't happen in
you
the playoffs.
In 9 periods of actual hockey,
It's
12 goals apiece.
9. It'd be 9-9.
I thought both games were 6-5.
Or 5-4.
5-4.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So
Math.
2 extremely evenly matched teams in regulation hockey. Like, you literally cannot separate them. The thing that separates them is a skills competition, which, okay, whatever.
It's not how you're going to decide it when it actually matters.
Yep. And fair enough. The Avs failed to score any overtime goals against Dallas in their series last year. Cool. If they do that again, they probably lose. But you can't train for that, right? You can't build for that, because 3-on-3 overtime is not anything like a 5-on-5 overtime in the playoffs. You look at the 5-on-5 play and you love what you got from the Avs mechanically. You'd say, hey, they're probably going to win most games, most 5v5 overtimes, most everything when they play like that at 5-on-5. And tonight, they technically lost at 5-on-5. They gave up 1 goal and scored none. Hockey's dumb, man.
It is the weirdest sport, without a doubt.
We are well over our second break, so let's hit that and make sure we shout out a few more of our sponsors, including the folks over at Taco Bell. You got to get in. You got to try their new Luxe Value menu. It delivers bold, irresistible flavors at an unbelievable prices with a lineup of crave-worthy items all under $3. From savory classics to indulgent new favorites, each item is crafted to satisfy big cravings without a big spend. These uniquely craveable items are available every day. While some value menus lack flavor or uniqueness, Taco Bell's Luxe Value menu is filled with innovative products only Taco Bell can deliver. Try the new Chipotle Ranch Chicken Stacker, the Mini Taco Salad, the Beefy Potato Loaded Griller, or the Chips and Nacho Supreme Dip. Finish your order off with an order of the Salted Caramel Churros to complete your meal. And for $3 or less, the 10-item Luxe Value menu is unmatched. Nobody delivers everyday value, and support your hometown teams like Taco Bell. Live Más at Taco Bell.
At Common Spirit Health, they're more than just hospitals and clinics. They're a team of passionate and expert caregivers dedicated to your well-being, woven into the very fabric of your community. From preventative care to advanced surgical solutions, their skilled physicians and caring staff are here for you, offering personalized treatment tailored to your unique needs. You can expect a blend of cutting-edge technology with a commitment to human needs. You can also expect a blend or a level of kindness at their 20 hospitals and 240 clinics and care sites that are right here in Colorado. They know how to treat people right. Whether it's a routine checkup, managing a chronic condition, or responding to an emergency, you can trust Common Spirit to deliver exceptional care close to home. Experience the difference compassion makes. Find a Common Spirit location near you and discover a new standard of health and healing by visiting mountain.commonspirit.org. Common Spirit Health, the official healthcare partner of the Denver Broncos.
Third period of the DNVR Avalanche podcast presented by Bet365. Really quickly, I do see chat talking about Natchez. I want to be upfront about this. Obviously, he was bad tonight. In the playoffs last year against Dallas in 7 games, he had 5 points. He had 2 games where I thought he was really good. He had 1 game where he was good. I think he had 1 game where he was okay. And he had 2 games where he was a ghost.
Yeah.
And when you are a player of his caliber, the expectation is consistency and that you are good or better 7 out of 7 games. That's just the reality of it. I don't think he was horrible, but when we're having that conversation, that's where the expectations are.
And the standard is just everything is that much more intense, right? Like you're under that much more of a microscope now because of the position you're on this team. Like the goal was Stanley Cup or bust from the beginning.
Yep.
And he needs to be a big part of it for that to come to fruition.
Right. That's the Avs committed to him to being that guy. So he has to be that guy.
And I'm not going to lie, like, especially with Avs fans and just the whole dynamic that gets warped into all of this, like you can't help but factor like how you went out and who did it last year. Yeah. And there's always going to be that lingering comp, right?
Yeah. It won't go away until you make it go away. Like we said earlier, we have the courtesy call. Bailey Curtis calling in from the Xfinity mobile call-in line at Ball Arena. Bailey, I got to know right off the bat, how does the locker room feel about this game? Because you can find a way to be happy with how you played, but I imagine they're not happy with losing. So how does that balance?
It was a weird vibe. You've got, I think, 3 different guys, funny enough, we all talked to in Cale, Nate, and Wedgwood, who all felt, like very different emotions from the 3 of them. You've got Nathan McKinnon, who's a beast and is going to, after a game like that, you're not going to expect the, candid Nate version of Nate you got after last game. But for the most part, everybody, it's hard to, the disappointment is there, but it's hard to feel bad about it when that's the version of the team that you're getting. They did everything they needed to do to clean up after the atrocity that was the game against Pittsburgh. And what can you do? You get a great bounce back game out of Scott Wedgwood and you run into a really hot goaltender and a guy like Jake Ottinger. I mean, it's really difficult, but as far as the guys in the room, it's really hard to feel bad. It stings, but they can't really. What are you going to do? There's not a whole lot to break down as far as big mistakes. They did most everything the right way. They fixed everything they needed to fix, and that's kind of how they feel about it.
Bailey, this is something you've talked about before in the season too that I wanted to ask you about. Did Ottinger play great tonight? Absolutely. But at what point, it's the biggest game of the season, when does getting goalied stop being an excuse and you have to find a way to get another goal?
It's when it's a 1-goal game like that, it's hard to win games. It doesn't matter the goal kind of goaltender you're running into. If you can't score, you're going to be hard pressed to win games and win them well. Finishing can absolutely be an issue. And I feel like every playoffs you run into, you get a hot goaltender at some point during the series on either side. It doesn't matter where that comes from. So that really can't be an excuse going into a playoff series. And this is the first real test of this. We talked a lot last game about the last one in Dallas feeling like a playoff atmosphere. This was that times 3. Given how close it was, you've got guys that are missing on both sides and they still can't get it done. They're still finding issues with scoring goals, and it can't be an excuse. It really can't. When you've got a good goaltender playing the way that Jake Ottinger is, you need to find the weak spots. You need to find, is that coverage up high lacking? How can we expose that a little bit? And you see Cale figure that out on the power play, which is, fantastic. But I've started lacking after that. And again, I don't know how much I can say lacking because Jake Ottinger played a fantastic game. But at the end of the day, the finishing has to be better. Absolutely. That's the only way you're going to win games. looking at the playoffs as well. You're not going to see games like this that are decided in a shootout. You're not going to see, opportunities for bad 3-on-3 overtimes, because that's simply just not going to happen. And so being able to finish on a goaltender and being able to break him more than once is crucial in beating a team like the Stars, especially when you have Jake Ottinger performing the way that he is.
What was the big takeaway from Bednar tonight?
Big takeaway is, what can you do? Really, the team did everything that was asked of them after the last result that they collected. The big one that stands out to me is there's very little bad that he has to say after a game like this. When your team is pretty much outperforming for the entirety of the game, they held Dallas to one shot on goal for the first 10 minutes of the game. And after that, what can you do? When your team is dominating that much, especially in the shot department, you're playing everything you need to do. You're doing everything you need to do defensively. You cleaned up your game. You're finding ways to get into the offensive zone and put multiple shots. They've got 30 plus shots on Jake Ottinger again tonight. You're creating those chances. You're creating those opportunities. You're doing everything that's asked of you. Very little to critique there. He mentioned in games like this that are high stakes, that are high octane, it is a game of mistakes at this point. The little mistakes matter the most in a game like this, where, Dallas is giving very little, whether that's out there on the ice or their goaltender is playing a fantastic game. You have to be able to capitalize on those mistakes, and they were little ones as far as Jared Bednar was concerned.
Yeah, it's hard to balance a game like this, right? Because you feel really good about so many things, but you can't feel good about the result. So you're kind of left in this limbo where how do the Avs recover from this? And recover is probably not the right word. I don't think they were really all that devastated by this, but is the next step having to set up rattle off a bunch of wins, or are you looking at the next Dallas game?
I think in their eyes, just based on some of the comments from a guy like Cale Makar this morning, they can't afford to look that far ahead. And they're really not. Playoffs in their minds is still really, really far away. They're a take one step at a time kind of team. That is the mentality they've gone through the entire season with. I don't think that's going to change with this last stretch of games. They've got 8 days, 4 games to make sure that this process that they executed in the Dallas game is the right one and that it is repeatable. So I think that's where their mind is at right now, is making sure that there are not, Bednar during practice the other day mentioned that he approaches each game with a plug the boat kind of mentality. And there's not a whole lot of holes to plug after a game like this. And so making sure that those holes stay plugged and you can continue to roll with that, I think, is the biggest, mindset that these guys are going into this next stretch of games with. You worry about Dallas when Dallas gets closer. It's one that coaches maybe have circled on their calendars, but as far as the players are concerned, focus on the game in front of you. That's how they're going to go into this next handful of games on the road.
Did this one feel different in the building? What was the atmosphere like?
Gosh, it's anytime these two teams meet, it's, the fans and the crowd, or you've got cheers going both ways. It's an electric building, and the guys feed off of that too. You can see that on the ice. I think that's with any sort of playoff feeling environment. You see that gritty physical game kind of come out. You see some of that management have to go into overdrive on all sides, all parts of the ice, whether that's puck management, managing emotions, whatever it might be. Fans are a huge part of that. Anytime these two teams come together in a building, it is absolutely electric, and you can tell that with the way these games turn out on the ice.
That's all I have. But Bailey, any final thoughts on this one?
No, it's like I mentioned. The Avs need to not overthink a game like this. That's really, again, you've got this 8-day stretch on the road. overthinking a situation like this, and the result that this one turned out is the last thing that they need to do. Otherwise, you're looking at a stretch of games against Chicago, against Pittsburgh, who you'd really like to see them bounce back against, maybe turning out in devastating fashion. And that is the last thing they need when you've got a matter of 2 points separating you from the team right underneath you. And that is not the gap that the Avs had at the beginning of the season. I'm sure it's not one that they're comfortable with right now. So not overthinking a win like this going into the road trip, realizing that if you continue to play like this, you're going to win 9 out of 10 games. Go into the next stretch of 4 games with that mindset, and you're golden.
The Avs win 9 out of 10. I bet you they're more than 2 points ahead.
Yeah, no, and as long as they can do that, I have zero worries about this team. I'll tell you that.
Yep, that's also true. Bailey, thank you for calling in. We'll let you go. Make sure you're following Bailey on Twitter, Bailey Curtis with 2 Y's in Bailey. That was the courtesy call live on the Xfinity Mobile call-in line as we move into the last period of the DNVR Avalanche podcast presented by Bet365. We'll do it. We'll do it on the weekend game. It's fine. Where's Jujubes? Jujubes, wherever you are, message me on Twitter and I'll give you your $10.
Man of your word.
Yep. You always pay your bets, chat. Chat was having an interesting conversation that I think was a little bit inaccurate, but interesting nonetheless, talking about the Avs' potential shooting percentages. First of all, if the Avs shoot 5% tonight, they win the game. That's all it would have taken. Secondly, though, asking the Avs top players to shoot 20% or even 15% is wild. Not realistic at all. Marty is shooting about 18% this year. It's the best of his career by far. He's about a career 13% shooter. Nelson is the best career percentage shooter in the Avs top 6 right now at a little over 14%. Realistically, as a team, if you are shooting around 11, 12%, you are one of the best shooting teams in the NHL.
Just split the gap and you're fine.
Yep. It's not realistic to shoot the roof off the building at that level, but also the Avs don't need to. They need to shoot about 8 or 9%.
Yeah.
And they will, a lot of these games they've played over the last week are wins if they shoot that well. Not the Pittsburgh one, but the rest of them, they probably win.
In some ways that feels encouraging to me because it's like you're going to regress to the mean at some point.
Yep.
Return to the mean, again, I guess wouldn't be regression in that sense. But.
And this is where we started the show of like early in the season, the Avs were shooting way too well. Now they're shooting not well enough for what they probably should be. And that'll come back to a balance. Or if it doesn't, then I guess they'll lose. But realistically, you expect that to end up somewhere in the middle. We have Jared Bednar here. We can listen to him, and then we'll get to y'all's super chats.
Questions for head coach Jared Bednar. Evan, start with you.
Just process-wise, I imagine you're very happy, especially after the last game. But like, is that one a little tougher to swallow, just considering how it ultimately ended?
No. I mean, I watch our team play like that, and I have like very little issues with the way we played. And I've said it all along. I'm not going to judge your team on results only. I think that's a losing battle. I think you play like that, and good things will happen. From the goaltender out, everyone was good, and power play was good, right? When you check off the boxes, they get one, they have a chance to get a second one. Cale rips it off the post. Penalty kill was good. The checking aspect of the game was good. What we were producing or generating offensively was good. We got to find a way to get one more past their goalie, right? So, but it was overall one of our best efforts that we've had in a long time, and against team that's right there, right? So I liked our game a lot.
John, then Corey.
A game like this that had that intensity and physicality, does it help you evaluate where you are and where you need to be for the playoffs, since it kind of mirrored that?
100%. Yeah, 100%. Because like both teams played extremely hard, and I'm sure both teams are going to come out of this game happy with their game, and that's what it's going to look like, right? So as much as we can play like that down the stretch, the better off, we're better prepared we're going to be for the playoffs. And like the only thing, like I'll just go back to the question of make it hard to swallow. The only thing is when your team has an effort like that, you'd love to be able to go in tomorrow and, you know, that they got rewarded for that type of effort, but it's not always the case.
Corey?
I mean, besides the obvious that these have been the two best teams in the league for most of the year, what is it about these two teams when they get together that there's just so little between them this year, last year, year before?
Well, because I just think that you got two teams that are very evenly matched, built similarly. That's what it is. You know, they're a very good team. They've got great depth and scoring, and they defend the right way and play the right way. I feel like we do the same. It's why our records are where they are.
Colleen, then Eric.
You mixed up the D pairs with Makar and Kulak tonight. And did you get the results that you wanted to see out of that? Or?
Yeah. I mean, I liked our defending tonight, and like I said, I think it's, you know, that we got to experiment a little bit, you know, because of matchups and playoffs, home and road, and so what, no better chance to look at, you know, those guys that we feel are capable of playing together than in a game like this. If they can do it in a game like this tonight, then they can do it in the playoffs.
Eric?
Just kind of to go off of that, just defensively, what were your thoughts on, you know, it took, I think, 16 minutes for Dallas to get a shot, 2 after the first, 8 after the second. Just what were your overall thoughts on how the team defended?
Yeah, we were great. Yeah, committed, tight gaps, skating, physical. I like the physicality out of our group, you know, it was good. Yeah, really good. Like the young guys made one mistake and, you know, they kind of, I don't want to say lucky bounce, they do the right thing, they get a rush scoring chance, but he fans on the shot, I think, and it fools Wedgie, and then they get the rebound off thing against, you know, young guys that are probably like the most intense game that they've ever played, and it's, you know, that's the one they got, and so I feel like we did a nice job when we needed to save, we got it, and, you know, their goalie gave them some big saves as well.
Troy?
Your thoughts on how Wedgwood responded after Monday, and is that what you need to see this time of year? That a guy can put something to bed right away of that game?
Yeah, well, that's always a plus, and I think that it's not unexpected for me. Like, I think Wedgie's been a great performer this year, the whole year, you know, and you look at the workload he's had and the games he's won us, and I mean, he's been great all year, and he's been probably even better since the break.
Mark?
Yeah,
yep.
I feel like Naz was brought in just to be kind of an X factor on the power play, one of the biggest appeals for his game, and you know, not just tonight, but bigger picture. What have you liked about how he's been able to contribute on the man advantage, considering that's been a struggle point, so to say, this season?
Yeah, so still a work in progress, right? Like the personnel changes, it's new to him, but I think what Naz has over on that half wall that I see all the time under pressure. Lucy's got sure hands, so pucks come around, pressure's coming, he's able to settle it and make a play to get us out of pressure. It's the sure hands and the poise, you know, and he's a creative guy too, so it's not always just kind of going back to a play that you run. It's like he has the vision and the ability to sort of make the next play that keeps them running or that could create a scoring chance. He's been good, and I think he can get even better as we keep working on it.
Last couple, Will, then D-Mac.
Cale gets another season with 20 goals. Just what a tremendous accomplishment is that. And also, he beat Ottinger once tonight and really kind of beat him twice, hitting the post.
Yeah.
Was that good to see sort of for his mental mindset, specifically in this matchup?
Yes, yeah, because I think, like, you know, like it's hard because you don't want to criticize, like, or, you know, be negative of his play, but, you know, there have been times during the year where I hear, you know, Cale's having an off year, whatever. He's having an off year with 20, however many goals he's going to score. And it's like, okay, like, if the expectations, I think that the guy's going to go out and get 3 points every night just because, you know, he's done that in the past at times. This league's hard, and that was a very difficult game against a really good team, and I find that Cale shows up in those games the most, which is a really good sign, and He was no different tonight. He's one of the best players on the ice.
Finish with D-Mac.
With the margins so close, and everybody thinks there'll be a bigger matchup in the playoffs with you guys, at the end of the day, what do you think the difference will be between winning and losing against the Stars?
I think it's going to be something different on every night. You know, like I do think like when you break it down into a series, if we're fortunate enough to play them at some point, I think it's a game of mistakes, right? And if you look at tonight's game, very few mistakes from our team, with the exception of overtime. I didn't love the overtime. But I would say that when it comes down to it, it's you have to capitalize on a couple of their mistakes or the chances that you create. And then you got to make sure that they don't on theirs, because there's only going to be a handful of quality scoring chances in any one of those games. And so you got to have every aspect of your game in order, and then you guys are going to need to finish, and you're going to need some big saves along the way.
Thanks, Jared.
Look, I agree with almost everything Jared Bednar said in that presser. I think it was pretty accurate from what more are you supposed to do to they probably deserve to win, and it would feel a lot better if they got one. And now you got to go back to work.
Losing sucks. Winning is fun.
Deep
Crazy
thoughts.
takeaway.
That is at 11:47 p.m. on a Wednesday after a hockey game.
Subscribe for more of that. Great analysis.
We do have a few super chats to get to. $10 from Kent, who says, gut feeling, will the Avs win the Central? Yes, I think they still will.
They still control their own. I'm not going to believe they're not going to win the division until literally that scenario smacks me in the face and it happens.
Yep. The reality is, and part of this that matters that we haven't really talked about, the Avs have all of the tiebreakers. Because the Avs were so horrible in overtime for so long that they have more regulation wins than everybody. So if you do end up in that scenario where you end up in a tiebreaker, of course, the last game against Dallas is huge. It's going to make a difference. But the Avs,
as of tonight,
will still be the favorite. I think they're still the favorite to win the Central Division. The next one, M. Beckwith with $5 says, I feel fine about this one. The difference between these teams is always Otter standing on his head and Dallas getting extremely lucky. Great hockey game. I mean, I think at a certain point, the Otter excuse isn't good enough, especially with the season that he's had, especially given that you've dropped 4 on him in the last 2 games that you've played against him. I think you need to do a better job of finishing as much as it is Otter standing on its head.
And you've got kind of an extended sample size of not finishing at the right rate. So.
Yeah. So
figure it out.
You gotta go do the job though. One way or another. Puck luck is what it is. Feels like Dallas gets it a lot against the Avs, but
again, that's why you play a 7-game series.
I also think there is a little bit of bias there, myself included, in the sense of what Dallas is really good at is executing on those bounces and finishing them. The Avs maybe didn't finish on their bounces tonight.
I mean, they're crazy opportunistic, which is a skill.
Yep. Fact. And then the last one, $2 from Ryan, says, play that game every night and you will be champs. 100% agree. If you play
5-on-5, you do that every night, and even the special teams.
You probably go 16-3, maybe better than that if you play like that every single night in the playoffs.
The process was so good for the most part. And I know that it rings hollow on a night like this. I get it. Sour. It's tough to hear. It's bittersweet, but you played a really good game against an incredibly good team.
Yep.
And at the end of regulation, just like it was the first time you played, 2 times you played, it was tied. We knew it was going to be an absolute grind of a matchup. Thought it'd be a little bit more high scoring, but we were probably due for one of those.
Yeah. The low scoring Dallas Avs game was coming. You kind of had the read in the pregame, but I didn't want to believe.
Before we get out of here, just because we didn't touch on it at all, the whole goalie dynamic. Wedgwood was pretty dang good tonight.
He gave up 1 goal. I don't care how it went in the net. If you give up one goal, you did your job as a goaltender and then some.
Yeah.
Yep. Was it a light workload? Absolutely. But I don't think you could
Came up with
you
a
could
couple
ask
of
more
big
them.
ones.
Yeah. Made some good ones in the third period, made some good ones in overtime. Yeah, unfortunately, the Avs are bad at shootouts, so stopping 2 of 3 is not enough. Is what it is. I really don't think we'll see a real decision about the goaltending until we get down to the last week of the season, and then maybe not even then. But hey, after a night where both your goaltenders played horrible, Wedgie played great tonight. Credit to him.
I'm not a coach, man, but I'd rock with Wedgwood right now. That's just where I'm at.
I'll continue being the dissenting voice. It's fine. I'm the Blackwood guy. But hey, those decisions will get made in the playoffs, and whatever happens, happens. Maybe it's the Avs lifting the cup. Maybe it's them losing in the first round. Anything in between. You know where to find us. 5 days a week, we do the show. If you like us, thanks. If you don't like us, we still appreciate you watching. So, yay. We are off tomorrow, so no show, but we will be back Friday for the next Avalanche game. And that's pretty much it for the rest of the season, is games every other day. So,
and there was a mini pod released earlier today, so go check
watch
that
the
out.
mini pod about how Kadri and Kulak and Waugh are difference makers for the Avs. Because guess what? They're going to matter. All right, I'm done. That is the end of the DNVR Avalanche podcast. Live from the Xfinity studio and presented by Bet365. We will see you Friday.
We all silly like the mayor.